Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NEWSROOM. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is Monday, the 3rd of June, 2024, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with the Indian elections, the polling for which has finished, and tomorrow, the 4th of June, the results are going to be announced. Now, there have been 7 exit polls that have come, all from Indian media associations or houses that all predict that it's going to be Narendra Modi's win all the way. Some predict 350 seats, others predict 380 seats, others predict 300 plus seats, but all of them are rooting for Narendra Modi. The opposition coalition, that is India, says that this is not based on truth. In fact, they say that the Congress and the allied parties that form India are going to garner more than 200 seats. Well, we will know within the next 48 hours as to what the result is going to be. But come what may, if and when Narendra Modi does come into power, what are going to be the repercussions on the already fragile India and the situation for the minorities, especially the Muslims of India, and of course the relations of Narendra Modi with his neighboring countries, especially with Pakistan. This is going to be in discussion during our first segment. Our second story continues the plight of the Palestinian people. Today is day 241 of the war between Israel and Palestine. A lot has happened. A lot is supposed to happen. There is some kind of a truce deal that both sides that has been now again brokered by the US, which apparently the Israelis seem to agree with, but there is a lot of opposition on that as well, although the Palestinian side has agreed to it. What is that going to bode as far as the current violent situation in Palestine is concerned? Will the aggression on Rafah cease? Will the people heave a sigh of relief? This and more will be discussed in our second story. Then we are going to discuss Colonel Dr. Belen Mary. Now, Colonel Dr. Belen Mary has now made history as the first Christian woman to be promoted to the rank of brigadier in the Pakistan Army. So now she is Brigadier Dr. Belen Mary. She is a pathologist in the Pakistan Army Medical Corps and has dedicated 26 years to serving her country. Congratulations, Dr. Sahaba, to have achieved this milestone. Finally, today is also the World Bicycle Day. It is observed across the world, including in Pakistan, to promote health, equity and sustainability through cycling, which is the theme of this year as well, and also to ascertain the benefits of the use of cycling, which is A, climate friendly, B, extremely good for the health, and C, also good for the environment. This and more will be discussed in our final story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns the Indian elections. Tomorrow is going to be the day when the polls will be counted and the results announced. What repercussions is the outcome of the Indian elections going to have on India, on the minorities in India and on the neighboring countries? We've been joined by Altaf Hussain Wani sahab. He's a Kashmiri leader and he's right here with us in the studios. Altaf sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. 7 exit polls that all predict that Narendra Modi is going to have a majority. Some talk about 350s, others talk about 380 seats out of the 543 in the Lok Sabha. We have seen how Narendra Modi has worked through his campaign. And despite the issues which include widening inequality, record high unemployment, rising prices, he has still managed to garner a majority of votes. At least this is what the exit polls say. What do you attribute these polls to? Will these polls and what they are predicting be confirmed tomorrow?
I don't think it will be that much what the predictions are made by the exit polls, but somewhere in between they will be nearer to that what is said. But it will not be that thumping majority what Narendra Modi will be having. Having said that, it will be unfortunate for the people of India if they have still voted for a man in whose time the unemployment rate is at the highest. It's predicted to be by NSSO data in last 45 years, it is the highest unemployment rate in India. So it is in the time of Narendra Singh Modi. And similarly, 10 topmost, the most polluted cities are in India now. This is not I saying, it is WHO which reports that 10 of the top most polluted cities are in India. This is what Narendra Singh Modi has done to the India. Number of Indian soldiers martyred is the highest. They killed in these years is the highest. This is what Washington Post says. Similarly, the inequalities.
A lot of Indian soldiers have also committed suicide.
80 years, in last 80 years, we have not seen such inequalities in India as we are seeing currently. This is Credit Suisse. It's Credit Suisse survey. We say it's not what I say or somebody else say. Likewise, India has become the world's worst country for women. This is Thomas Reuters survey. It's not, these are all impartial surveys which have been conducted in India, in what has happened to the India during Narendra Modi's period. And similarly, the highest ever correlated violences, mob lynching has happened during the Narendra Modi's period in India.
All right.
Despite all this,
Wani sir, we will have to kind of cut it short for a little bit. We have to go to a break and we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm discussing Indian elections and the result in the exit polls that show Narendra Modi as becoming the majority party in these elections as well. And we are in discussion with Altaf Hussain Wani Saab, who is a Kashmiri leader. Altaf Saab, the Opposition India Alliance, which is made up of Congress and other parties, it maintains a confidence that they are going to secure a majority on counting day. What do you attribute their confidence to?
I think everybody has a right to claim the majority, as on the these exit polls, Narendra Modi today claimed the majority, which is not treated well, as he should not have claimed the majority on these exit polls. And likewise, the other parties, they have also this choice to declare themselves as winners. But the results will be declared tomorrow, and everybody will know what will happen tomorrow. But having said that, the way the Indian elections were conducted, the way those elections were fought, contested by the different parties,
and the narratives that were built,
narrative that was built by Mr. Narendra Modi and the BJP as a whole, we saw that these elections were primarily fought on the issue of Muslims of India. Basically on the Muslim, it was election versus the Muslims of India. And in each and every speech, in each and every sermon what the BJP leaders gave, whether it was Narendra Modi, whether it was Amit Shah or others, they accused Muslims like infiltrators, they will do this, they will do that, like they said that
they will loot the money of the Hindus.
They loot the money of they will even take away the Mangal Sutra of the women of India. They will not give them the power and all that. And that is what we saw in the first two phases of election, that BJP was feeling some heat the way the people conducted themselves during the election campaign. And in first two phases, they saw that their narrative, which was totally built on that, they will say to the people that we have reached to the moon, we have done this, we have done development, we have got the G20 summit, and we have become the Vishwa Guru now. This was their primary, but it was not a sellable article in the
so
public.
They completely changed
so
it.
They completely changed, and then it was all Muslim of India. It was Muslims of India versus the rest. So then we saw the other parties, unfortunately, those parties who claim themselves to be the democratic and all, we saw them also shying away from taking sides with the Muslims or speaking for the minority rights.
Why?
So, because they also thought because of the vote bank. Because in the North India, you have the vote bank, you submit the vote bank on this. BJP has done it in 2014, they did it in 2019, and also before going to the elections, Ram Temple inauguration was one of it, and then they asked the people, you see that these opposition leaders did not come even to the Ram Temple inauguration and all that. Then opposition also was not in a gear that they could condemn the Modi, they could condemn his policies which he had maintained in the last 10 years against the minorities in India, against the Muslims, against other minorities.
Because they were also, handcuffed by Narendra Modi.
Yeah.
Their accounts were suspended. many were put into jail.
That's where I'm going, because if Narendra Modi, what I was telling you, what Narendra Modi has done in last 10 years to India, if Narendra Modi is becoming, again, it's first time, we saw the Supreme Court of India versus the Supreme Court of India. We saw Supreme Court of India versus the Election Commission of India. Supreme Court of India versus the Parliament of India. These all things had not happened before. We saw first time Election Commission playing a role like a puppet of the Narendra Modi. And this is people say that if Narendra Modi again comes to the power, what is predicted, what is the projected in these exit polls, then it will be the last election in India, because then Modi will become a dictator. He will take the charge of all these institutions of India, like he took the charge of the Election Commission, like he took the charge of Supreme Court of India, like he took the charge of the Parliament of India, and then each and everything which is being propagated in India, that is on hate against the Muslims, that's on the hate on other minorities, and thereby Narendra Modi will then amend the constitution of India, and then India will no more be a democracy, no more a secular country, which they claim, which they are not. They are not practicing their secularism for long, but then totally this will be a departure from democracy, this will be a departure from secularism, this will be a departure from parliamentary democracy, and we will see a dictator like Narendra Modi in India taking away the reins, and you will see the fascists of India ruling the country from length to breadth, and thereby the minorities and even the people in South, the people of South who are very much well-read people, they know the nonsense of this all, they will also be subjugated by these fanatic Hindus of the north, the way they did with the people of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, what they are doing there.
What happens to the 200 million plus Muslims in India? What happens to the Muslims of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir when and if Narendra Modi returns to power?
You see, again, I will say that it's evident what will happen to them. Again, there will be more restrictions on them. We have seen already the mosques are being demolished. We have seen already they are taking over charge of the different institutions of Muslims. They are taking away all those educational institutions of Muslims all over the India, all those places which were in a way for which the Indian Muslims had a pride that these are our built by our ancestors. They are being taken away, they are being demolished, and it will be a total Hindu Rashtra. It will be a total Hindu Rashtra, and the Muslims of India, they will have the two choices. One, to resist against this, and again it will be it will have its implication on the neighboring countries of the India, and if they will resist, they will decide to resist, it will have definitely the its effects on the neighboring countries. If they don't decide to resist, then they will have to, what the Indians say, Gar Vapsi. They want them to convert into Hinduism and have a full Hindu Rashtra in India without any Muslim, without any Christian. It's not only Muslims, but the Christians and Sikhs and others will have to follow the suit.
So the mob lynchings, the hate speeches, the strikes, and the way the different minorities have been held, especially the Sikhs, all of these are going to continue.
Yes, you see, in present we have not Narendra Modi, who was known as the butcher of Gujarat. Everybody knows it, and we saw that during his tenure as the Chief Minister of Gujarat state, he got this status. The United States and others did not even give him the visa to visit those places. But again, in those 10 years of his tenure in office, he never addressed a press conference, because he knows that the people from the press will ask questions and all that. He never addressed a press conference after coming from the foreign tours or within the India. But what he did, it was for the first time as the Prime Minister of India. He stood up in Rajasthan, calling the Muslims the infiltrators, calling the Muslims that they are the people who have more children, they will take over the wealth of the India, like the Mahmud Ghori or Muhammad Ghaznavi, like that. And this is when a man is so frustrated in his ideas and what he speaks, and he will definitely implement it when he becomes the Prime Minister.
But this frustration sells. But this frustration sells, doesn't it?
This frustration sells in the North India. Unfortunately, in the North India, they have made it that the Hindus in North India and over the past 10 years or so, the BJP made very large inroads in the North India by such hate speech, by creating hurdles for the Muslims, and by siding with those criminals who have been the helping hand, killing the Muslims, lynching the Muslims, or taking away their properties and all that. The government has always condoned that, never condemned that, and we have seen the courts of India have always released those culprits. They were never taken to the task, they were never brought to justice. So that is what India is currently. And if Narendra Modi becomes the third time, which is evident now with these, then the Muslims of India will have to think about themselves, what they are going to do, how they are going to live in India, and what should be their modus operandi to this dictatorship, to this Hindutva regime.
All right, last question, I want a short answer. Do you feel, you talked about modus operandi, do you feel that the media and the narrative that was built by the media pre and during the elections also played a role as far as voter mentality is concerned?
You see, all the Indian media, it's called the Godi media. They have to toe the line which the BJP has shown them. So all the media, all the social media influencers and all that, everything was manipulating these elections, from election commission to the local law enforcing agencies, putting Kajriwal behind the bars, or restricting Congress and other people, and whatever they did, this was all manipulated by.
Wani sahab, we're going to see the results tomorrow, and as predicted, it seems as if Narendra Modi is going to be elected as a third time Prime Minister, and it seems that this is the first time in India's history also that a party is going to gain power for a third time. Well, what can we say? Let's see what the future predicts as far as India and its relations and its geopolitics is concerned. Thank you very much, Altaf and Wani sahab, to have joined us for this very important segment. And let's now go towards our second story, and that concerns the day 241 of the Israel and Palestine conflict. More than 1 billion people have been forcefully displaced from Rafah, as Israeli forces have killed 40 people in the last 24 hours in attacks across Gaza. Doubts have also grown over the latest truce proposal after the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who are facing potential arrest warrants from the ICC, have cast doubt on the US-backed proposal. Hamas spokesperson Osama Hamdan welcomes the truce plan, but has said that the group is yet to receive any written documents. Jabalia and Beit Hanun have been declared as disaster areas shortly after an Israeli military operation in the northern Gaza cities. The Gaza government says more than 3,500 children are at risk of dying of starvation as Israel continues to curb aid delivery, and at least 36,479 Palestinians have been killed and 82,777 wounded in Israel's war on Gaza since the 7th of October. We've been joined by two guests to discuss more on that. In the studios, we've been joined by Dr. Munawar Hussain, he's a foreign affairs expert. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us. And online, we've also been joined by Reza Shah, he's a senior analyst. Thank you very much, Reza, to have joined us. Let's begin with you, Munawar Saab. More than 1 million people have been forcefully displaced from Gaza. This is an official statement that has come. Also, when you look at the atrocities that continue to be committed, when you look at the number of people that has surpassed 36,400, the number of injured that has surpassed 82,700, and this does not count those who are still buried under the rubble and of course are dead, and then all the incarcerated people. To add to that, the children, a majority of children and women, as per the Palestinian Red Cross and other important organizations that have been borne the brunt of this conflict. Will these atrocities continue? To what end, in your point of view? And when is that tipping point when Israel might stop or pause this brutality?
Thank you very much for having me in the show. October 7 has turned the Middle East upside down. And the Israel, I mean, it has emerged as an apartheid state. What the Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch groups, they have given a detailed report that it is an apartheid state. Now, the major objective of Israel, first we need to understand what is the objective of Israel, whatever they are doing in Gaza. Their major objective is to create a greater Israel, which is known as a green Israel. Fine. And now question is, how can they maintain this greater Israel? They have 4 options. The first option is that they have to be a democratic state. But now problem is, democratic state means roughly they would have 7 to 8 million Palestinians, 7 to 8 million Jews. And in that case, if you see the demographic factor, the birth rate in Palestinian is higher than the Jewish community. And in that case, where they would fit in this Jewish state. Second option is that they accept the 2-state solution, which is given by the United Nations, which is given by the major power like the United States of America. People, they love to talk about this 2-state solution. But if you see Israeli elites, ruling elites, they don't like this idea. Not only Netanyahu, but Israeli ruling elites. So, I mean, they do not consider this option. The third option is the apartheid state, which I mentioned, the international bodies, they are giving report. And we find the pattern in Israeli behavior in 1948, in 1967. So, they have proven themselves as an apartheid state, especially Ariel Sharon. He designed this Gaza, a place like a prison from the 2 sides, which Netanyahu has continued it successfully. And the third option is ethnic cleansing. And ethnic cleansing is the best option for Netanyahu and the Israelis. Why? Because this would help them to get rid of this apartheid image, which is created by international bodies. And number 2.
But at what cost? When you say ethnic cleansing, to remove a certain image or a perception, how can you resort to tactics such as ethnic cleansing?
Ethnic cleansing, they have 2 strategies. One is to create a huge casualty for the Palestinians, to incentivize them to get rid of this Gaza and to get them out of this place. Second is to make the place unlivable, and what they are doing at this moment. But the question you ask that at what cost? In fact, the problem with the Israelis are that they are failed to get the objective. Apparently, they say that we would not accept even the proposal given by the President Joe Biden, because this is against the long-standing end of Israeli foreign policy, which is to completely get rid of this Hamas. But State Secretary Blinken said that Israelis, they could not get rid of this Hamas, they could not destroy it. They failed to have a complete ethnic cleansing. They failed to get the Palestinian out of Gaza. Now I feel that Israel is in a serious trouble.
All right, Israel is in a serious trouble. Reza Shah, my next question is pointed towards you. This latest truce proposal, the 3-stage ceasefire proposal that was given by US President Joe Biden, that would end the war in Gaza, return all Israeli captives in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, and plan for Gaza's reconstruction, has drawn mixed responses from the Israeli government. On the one hand, Netanyahu undermines the deal. His office says Israel's main demands have not changed. Far-right members of his governing coalition react more aggressively. Israeli opposition figures, families of Israeli captives, asked to accept this agreement. Defense Minister Gallant reiterated to the US Israel's commitment to dismantling Hamas in the framework of any deal, according to his office, although the Palestinian side is ready to engage positively and constructively to this proposal. What happens now to the outcome of this proposal that has been put forward by Joe Biden? What do you predict?
Thank you for having me on your show, and your guest gave a very good analysis, very appreciative. In regards to the current Dante, and you find this, again, another peace proposal. All right, to be frank and blunt, there is no peace proposal that ever will be successful. We've been through many, many phases. Now, I'm not quite sure what the numbers are, but I think roughly, well, we've been through 7 different types of proposal coming out from different strategic partners or players or stakeholders. They've all become a failure, okay? So we actually realize a lot of these peace proposals, that it comes from the Israeli side or whether it comes from the US administration. This is just to actually sidestep and put your focus somewhere else. Reason why in this current actual situation is, one, the election cycle in America has just begun, okay? So there's an external and an internal issue here in regards to Israel. Israel has been strong-armed by America because it's an election cycle. Biden's polls and his stock has really, really fallen. You've got a big, massive student movement. You've had his own people within his administration, high-ranking officials already resigned. He's got a massive, massive issue. Then you've got the Trump campaign, okay? So he's found an opportunity here. And this is not my own analysis. This has been confirmed by even Israeli officials that this peace proposal does not come from us. It's not actually official. This is Joe Biden's cooked up peace proposal for your own elections consumption, local consumption. So somehow maybe he can win some vote banks where he's lost, especially the Muslim vote, because nowadays that Muslim vote in the US elections is quite vital. More importantly, it's also another diversion for Netanyahu within Israel. There's an internal chaos, just like your guest said. Number one, you had massive demonstrations, million-man marches, which is not shown on the mainstream media, but you find on the social media. Israelis are out on the streets. They want to end this war. They want to, and not because of the suffering, the genocide, the trauma, the famine that the Palestinians are actually suffering through. No, it's because their own suffering. And this is on multiple fronts. Number one, it's because there's been a major loss in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces morale. They've had major, major losses. Not on the mainstream media, but just yesterday they released some stats where they stated we've got roughly 10,000 wounded, roughly 4,000 are disabled or crippled, and they've got 626, I believe, that have been killed. However, there's enough evidence to suggest, especially with the 5 fronts that have been opened, and specifically the northern front with the Hezbollah, the northern Lebanese resistance. At least if you accumulate the Gaza war and you accumulate the northern front and put these figures together, 6,000 to 8,000 must have been killed, 30,000 have to be wounded. The hospitals are packed. Even the army hospitals, there are videos showing IDF soldiers on the ground. So this one impact, plus none of the military objectives or the political objectives have been achieved by Netanyahu. Number one, have the hostages been released? No. Have you won the military war? No. You're now you're being declared a war criminal by ICC, ICJ. You've got a world isolation of Israel. So that pressure is very overwhelming pressure on Netanyahu administration, which is affecting the internal dynamics and the politics. Then he's got his internal party members, which is the part of the coalition partners. There, you've got your right wing. They're saying, if you end this war, then we'll pull out of the coalition, which basically means there's going to be a collapse of an Israeli government. So that society is now getting degraded on a political, diplomatical,
Okay,
So,
Reza will continue with you, but we have to go back to Dr. Munawar. Sir, Israel's the Gazan government says more than 3,500 children are at risk of dying of starvation. Israel continues to curb aid delivery. I just talked about that in the very beginning. That still there are issues as far as the Rafah crossing are concerned. That, of course, was seized by Israel military and is completely shuttered since the 8th of May. To add to that, there is disease. Because of that, the proper medicine is not arriving. And to add to that, of course, he was talking about, Reza was talking about the army, Israeli army, and the Israeli army has also bulldozed or completely destroyed so many hospitals within Palestine that the health services are almost completely diminished or destroyed. When you look at all of these statistics, the health issues, the lack of water, food that is leading to children that are going to die of starvation. Already there have been children who have died of starvation, children who are born so underweight that they do not sustain themselves. Do you feel that this is a trend, quote unquote, that is going to continue till such time that successive or sufficient pressure is exerted on Israel to either stop this war or go for a complete ceasefire?
Look, there is a complete failure of international system, and if the system is failed, if the international institutions are failed to resolve these long-standing issues, either it is Palestinian issue or the Kashmir issue, and they failed to stop Israel. For instance, the verdict which was given by ICJ to stop war in Gaza, but even then Israelis, they are conducting operation in Rafah. It means it is a complete failure. And as I already mentioned in the context of the first question, that if you see the pattern of an apartheid state, whether it was South Africa in the past or Israel, I gave you example of 1948 and 1967, they did the same. Now, what is the problem with Israel? The problem with Israel is that now the state is being frustrated because they are failed to get the objective which Reza Saab has mentioned. IDF commanders, they are complaining that the political leadership has not given them the political map, the political end game. So they are frustrated, they are tired, they cannot fight more. And then the psychological upper hand of Israel in the context of security is diminished. When this dust of war would be settled down, you would observe a weak, fragmented Israeli state.
But they are completely being bulldozed with armaments time and again by the US, by other countries, even now by India that is sending, arms to Israel. So don't you think that reinforcement of ammunition and arms is going to, give a certain boost to the Israeli army to continue their atrocities?
Absolutely. But I mean, what is their image in international politics? For instance, for Americans, the image is now, the America in the past was known as a broker of the peace, was known as champion of democracy, the protector of human rights. Now, America is known as supporter of the genocider, fine, and America is spending $1 trillion each year on war. And now we are raising a question on United Nations that failed to maintain peace in international system. Why? Because their budget is only $3 billion. $3 billion. So, but even then, I believe that America is the only power, though it is a declining power, but it is the only power that have a profound say on Israel. If Israel would be stopped, it would be stopped only by the Americans, because without the support of America, economic support and military support, Israel cannot go ahead. But I believe what is the result of this war? Israel is in a deep trouble. Why it is in a deep trouble? Because its image is compromised, one. Number two, losing its support, especially in the Western world, especially from the youth of the West. Number three, they are facing two front wars. From north, Hezbollah, and from south, they are fighting with the Hamas. And the fourth, which is very dangerous development, that if states, they are failed to stop this war, non-state actors, they are getting capability to challenge the decision of the state, and they are posing a real threat to the existence of Israel. So, what Netanyahu's policy is not served the interest of Israel, but rather it put Israel in a very complex and troublesome situation.
So, in the long run, you feel, Dr. Saad, that this is going to go against Israeli interests if with the way Netanyahu and his Zionist regime are continuing with these atrocities in Palestine?
Because the Israeli people, the Jews, they are losing their faith on the state of Israel. Therefore, more than 1 million, they left the country. They are settled down again in the West. It means the existence of Israel is in a real danger.
All right, Reza Shah, my last question to you concerns the 3 mass graves that were recently discovered at the Al-Shifa hospital and 30 headless bodies amongst them. Now, these mass graves have also been discovered at the Nasser hospital in southern Gaza, at the Kamal Adwan hospital in Beit Lahia, and this brings the total such mass graves to 7. The Israeli military says it has done nothing wrong, but exhumations at these sites suggest harrowing ordeals for the Palestinians. What's your take on this?
Yes, I mean, every day when you find news of extreme killings and callous, where you find that there's a lack of humanity, as it goes, shall I say, the humanity does not exist there. It's complete degrading and dehumanization. So when you find charred bodies, another revelation of the tyranny and the injustice. So yes, one should not be surprised, and we'll probably find more gruesome scenes and pictures and events and incidences in the future to come. It's obviously harrowing when you watch these videos. It really hurts you from inside, especially when you belong or you have the connection to the people and the cause. However, as much as there is that humanitarian factor, we are in a hybrid warfare. And just like the Dr. Saab said, look, we have political, there is military, there is social, there is diplomatic, there is economic, psychological, information, media. It's a hybrid warfare. Israel right now, the more it will go into the abyss, this is the proof. The more they're going to commit these crimes against humanity, the more they're going into the abyss. And we are seeing the pangs of a failed state very, very soon. And mostly it's going to be failed because it's the war of attrition from the axis of resistance. It's on 5 fronts. The Yemenis, you have which is the Ansar Allah, north of Israel in the Galilee, Hezbollah. And I'd like to give you some stats here. Since 7th of October, all of the axis of resistance become engaged the next day. Hezbollah just yesterday announced 2,000 operations, and they've only spent 5% of their own arsenal and their weapons. Then you have Yemen, who have done 150 naval operations. Iraq, the Iraqi resistance there has done 300 operations. And we're not even counting the Gaza, the resistance over there. All of this war of attrition on human resources, military bases, capability, surveillance, monitoring, slowly is becoming weakened. So when you said before that they keep getting armed by other international partners, but you see on the reality on the ground, they're actually losing. The Iron Dome system, even yesterday, has failed officially in the Golan Heights. It's no longer applicable, it's no longer applicably strategically applicable in that area at the moment.
All right, thank you. Reza Shah, we're a bit short of time, but I would have loved to continue with you, but we're a bit short of time. Thank you very much, Reza Shah, and thank you very much, Dr. Munawar Hussain. I know that I would have, we would have continued our discussion, but this will be for very soon again, because I don't see, to be very frank, this ending anytime soon. We are already 241 days in this conflict, and the way this conflict is going, I don't see this ending in the next couple of days or weeks, but maybe I could be proven wrong. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have come all the way to the studios and to have given us your valued opinion on this. Let's come to last 2 stories very, very quickly. Helen Mary Robert has become the first Christian woman brigadier in the Pakistan Army. Colonel Dr. Helen Mary Robert made history as the first woman from her religion to be promoted to this rank. She's a pathologist in the Pakistan Army Medical Corps and has dedicated completed 26 years of serving her country. She has considered it as honor to serve the country and the nation while living, of course, being in the Pakistan Army. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has also extended his congratulations to Helen Mary Robert on the promotion, and he has said that the entire nation, including himself, extends felicitation to her and has praised her for her hard work and dedication, proving that Pakistani women could excel in any field and were second to none. So congratulations, Begriya Sahaba. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, today is the World Bicycle Day. This is the 3rd of June. It is an important day. You say, why Bicycle Day? Why are we even talking about a Bicycle Day? Because under the current circumstances where we see a lot of health problems, under the current circumstances where climate change and environmental pollution is a huge hazard for the world, bicycle riding and usage of bicycles to go to work or even for leisure purposes becomes more and more of an alternate necessity, to say the least. The theme this year is promoting health, equity and sustainability through cycling. Sustainable development and cycling are also very much related, because it not only draws the attention of using the bicycle as affordable, clean and environmentally sustainable means of transportation, but also contributes to cleaner air and less congestion, and makes education, healthcare and other social services more accessible to the most vulnerable populations. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Take care of yourselves. Allah Hafiz.